Yes, the Bills got a win over the fleeting Dolphins 31-21, but there is a huge problem in Buffalo. That defense that we saw Thursday night is yet again going to hold them back in the playoffs and stop them from making the Super Bowl. Trust me, we all saw Josh Allen played a great game Thursday, and he is a great player. He, again, you could say, is leading the MVP discussion, or at least up there, I would say, with Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, and a couple of other guys right now. He had a great comeback in Week 1 against the Ravens. They smoked the Jets on both sides of the ball 30-3 last week, and this time they get a win. Division games are tricky. However, what the Dolphins did to them on Thursday was so crucial because the first drive of the game, they just came out and ran the ball down the Bills' throat, which is crazy because we've already seen that strategy used by the Ravens in Week 1. Last week, the Dolphins said, you know what? Our quarterback is struggling throwing. Our O-line is struggling in pass protection, and we have a running back. We are going to try. We have two running backs, actually, with A-Chain and Ollie Gordon III, their rookie. We're going to try to run both of them and control the game. And early on, while they didn't have a lead most of the game, they had it for one drive. They didn't have a huge lead at any point, but they were able to run the ball and be very effective. They had 25 rushes for 170 yards, 5.2 yards a carry, and a touchdown as well, just keeping the ball on the ground for the Dolphins to establish that kind of control over the running game when we know what they are. We know that they can be a soft team, called break dancers by one Chris Broussard. Love you guys, should love me first things first. But called a break dancer. We've seen them doing somersaults in training camp. This is at times known as a soft, unserious team, but the Bills defense at no point took control of that game. At no point were able to pressure Tua and really put him under fire to the point where Tua was really in control. Now, they made a great interception at the end of the game, which I don't know if I consider that a great interception or more of just a terrible pass from Frank and Tua, who, as we know, can't really read anything right now. Brains are a little scrambled. So you get a pick there, but still, at the end of the day, their defense was just not good the entire game, and they really, really let the Dolphins stay in the game. And even if you remember early in the game, the Bills started off the first 3 possessions in the first half with 2 touchdowns, and then they missed a field goal. And then next thing you know, it's a close tie game going into halftime because the defense could not get a stop on the 2-minute warning. And this is not a new problem for the Bills with them not being able to stop the run. Now, did they stop the pass? Kind of, I guess. Although you can't really tell with Tua out there and not really able to hit any deep passes, make any reads, move from the pocket at all, and he's kind of losing his accuracy. It's a real sad thing we're seeing it in Miami right now. However, purely for the Bills, we saw them get run on in Week 1. Now, we know it was the Ravens, Derrick Henry and Lamar, but they ran it 29 times for 235 yards. That's insane. You can't be a serious contender and let teams run the ball for you for 200, 230. It's just not going to happen. There's too many teams right now good at running the ball. Now, the Ravens are the best. We know the Eagles are in a different conference, but there's going to come some teams that are going to get better running the ball. The Chiefs right now can't do it. The Chargers can't do it, but those are going to be some of your competitors, and that is a clear gaping hole, combined with the fact that their pass defense isn't very good, and they don't really get a lot of pressure. This defense doesn't do anything well right now, and that's a huge problem for them. Now, as we look really deeper into the numbers, you really got to think like, well, maybe this is just an early of the year thing. Maybe it's just a divisional opponent in the Ravens, but really this has been causing the Bills problems for years. Last season, taking on the Chiefs in the playoffs, chance to go to the Super Bowl. They end up losing the game 32-29, despite Josh Allen playing great. And yes, he can't push, and that definitely hurt them because they had chances to win that game. You even had a late drop from Dawson Knox that would have been a first down. A lot of things that offense could have done, but the defense didn't help them at all. It was awful. They kept running. I actually went back and rewatched the game recently. They kept running the same rollout with Patrick Mahomes, and he just kept taking off or throwing it because the Bills refused to adjust to it. A lot very akin to Eagle fans, if you remember, the 2022 Super Bowl where they were just running one play and we just didn't adjust. The same thing was happening to the Bills and McDermott. And the reason I keep pointing out Sean McDermott, he's a defensive coach. Their offense has been fixed by Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, but that really isn't McDermott's thing. McDermott is supposed to be a defensive specialist. He was a defensive coach, I believe, with the Eagles, and that's how he got the job with the Bills, was being known as a defensive mind. But in that playoff game, that 32 points that they allowed to the Chiefs was the most that the Chiefs scored all season last year. And as we head into this year, that 32 points remains the highest amount that they've been able to score in over 2 seasons. And it comes in a playoff game where we saw them in the playoffs. We saw them in the Super Bowl. We know now that offense, we saw it against the Chargers in week 1 and the Eagles in week 2. The other 3 games they've played since then, we've seen that offense sputter, not look good. Now, have they been missing receivers? Yes, but they were missing receivers as well, in that game. They didn't have Rashee Rice. They had Xavier Worthy, but they didn't have Rashee Rice. If you go back to 2 years ago, 2023, the Bills again taking on the Chiefs, chance to go to the Super Bowl. They lose. Sorry, this was in the divisional round. My apologies. Divisional round, chance to go to play the Ravens, which means a chance to go to the Super Bowl because the Ravens were never winning that game, I guess. Chance to go to the Super Bowl, 27-24. The defense let up 27 points to Mahomes. Remember, this was a team that was kind of sputtering a little bit, not looking as great as they did the last couple of years on offense. This 27 points actually ended up being their 5th highest total of the year for the Chiefs offense. It has been over and over and over again that we've seen Josh Allen performances. Remember, he had the lead and they lost it in 13 seconds. We'll let the game go to overtime. And they end up letting up 42 to Mahomes. Now, that was Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. It's a crazy team. But still, we've seen just too many instances of this defense letting down the team for me to stand by idly and let everyone just gloss over it and talk about Josh Allen. Josh Allen's great. They're calling him a perfect quarterback now, best quarterback in the league. Today's not even the day. I'm not even going to delve into it. Y'all know who the best quarterback in the league is. I know who the best is, the guy with the ring, or at least with the rings, one of them, right? But Josh Allen does have an MVP, or at least a guy with more MVPs, right? But whatever. Josh has an MVP. That's fine. He's great. He's a top 4 quarterback in this league and can be won on a given day. The thing that's been holding this team back has been coaching decisions and that defense over and over again. And we can't just act like, oh, Josh can just do this all year when we haven't seen him do what he's been doing in the regular season in the playoffs. And what I mean by that is he's a very consistent playoff performer. But to ask him to go out there for 3 to 4 straight games, if you get the bye, 3 straight games, to go out there and just carry a team against other playoff teams is just going to be difficult. Even right now, when you look at the AFC, okay, you beat the Ravens, you probably have home field. All right, you can beat the Ravens, fine. Can you beat the Chiefs? If your defense lets up points, the Chiefs' defense has been known to be very good. And I hate to say this, but even the Chargers defense we've seen is physical. They're fast. Maybe Herbert will choke, but if your defense can't make them do anything, that Texans defense that got Herbert to throw 4 picks was very good last year. And he does look like a different guy. The Bills not being able to get stops is a huge problem. And to me, one of the biggest reasons it's a huge issue. Micah Parsons was right there to be had. Why the fuck didn't you get him? It really would have helped me out as an Eagles fan. Keep him the fuck away from Green Bay. It would have taken 2 firsts, maybe a 4th to beat the Green Bay offer, and you would have had a defensive player who you were trying to get in Von Miller. I don't know why they wanted to keep those picks. We've seen them use those first-round picks over the years and not yelled these great defensive talents. So to me, for the Bills specifically, you could have got Micah Parsons to put pressure on Mahomes, to help out with Lamar Jackson control. I mean, he's very bad at read option play, but still get some pressure on some of those big plays. I don't understand why they didn't do it. Also as well, Matt Milano, he was hurt on Thursday. He's always hurt. Ed Oliver, he's kind of getting injured a little bit more. Tre'Davious White is still out there at cornerback on Jalen Waddle one-on-one. Why? I don't understand it. Like, they love these older players. They kept Micah Hyde too long. It's just what they do. And if you're not going to use the picks on these young players to invigorate that defense, like we've seen with the Chiefs, going out getting Drew Tranquill from the Chargers, getting younger guys, Karlaftis, the cornerback, I'm blanking on his name right now, but all of those types of players, and the Eagles obviously just loading up Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, this year Jahad Campbell, Makuba, just adding people. The Ravens, Kyle Hamilton, we've seen the other guy, forget his name, but they also drafted another guy. They went out and traded for Roquan Smith. They don't make any of these decisions to get players, and McDermott's not just going to magically be better on defense, and it's just too big of a flaw. I just don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl because they're going to get in a game where Josh, as great as he is, he doesn't play defense. And James Cook, as great as he is, he can kind of sort of game break a little bit. Their offensive line is great, but it's just, if you're not going to make any adjustments and teams are going to be able to find weaknesses, and they don't have any defensive strengths to adjust to. They can't stop the run. They can't really stop the pass. They can only stop the Jets. That's not going to be good enough to go to the Super Bowl, in my opinion, as great as Josh Allen is. And I think ultimately it's going to lead to McDermott losing his job. But that defense is just, it's a wreck right now, and it's got to get fixed. They have a couple weeks coming up where they can definitely turn around. Get my reading glasses on, because upcoming they play the Saints, the Patriots, the Falcons, and the Panthers. We've seen the Falcons look iffy on offense, and at times, well, they were playing the Bucs and the Vikings, two very good defensive coach teams. But the Saints, Pats, and Panthers, you all gotta really shut those teams down for real, and really figure out how to stop the run on defense, how to be better. But I don't think stopping the run is something you can just figure out. I think that has to do with defensive tackles, DNs, and linebackers. Not X's and O's, but Jimmy and Joe's. The Bills don't have it. They continue to get hurt every year because they get all these older players. Now they got Joey Bosa. We'll see how long he stays healthy. And it's just going to be their downfall again. You can see it. We can ignore it because we love Josh Allen, because he's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. He does incredible things. He's an alien, but defense matters. The Bills don't have it, and that's why they again won't make the Super Bowl.